How childhood trauma will affect your relationship. Do you know that many children experience traumatic events throughout their lifetimes? According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, by 16, more than 67% of children will have experienced at least one traumatic event in their life. As parents and caregivers, sometimes we can't control everything in kids' life. What happens in the school, or what happens in the society, we don't have full control of children's life. But when children experience trauma, parents need to seek out support for the children to assess the impact and develop a support plan. In this video, you will learn about childhood trauma and how this affects to adult and relationship. What is childhood trauma? Childhood trauma varies depending on the situation and the cause. Usually, childhood trauma is caused by bad experiences in childhood such as bullying or other frightening experiences. Not only experienced, childhood trauma can even be suffered because of witnessing or hearing a bad experience or a dangerous experience. You need to know that all trauma is not equal. In many cases, traumatic for one person may be something to easily resolve for others. There are many reasons that lead to childhood trauma, such as institutional racism in schools or communities, living with a parent with significant mental illness, or loss of a loved one such as divorce or death. Many events can be traumatic for children. They also can be traumatic witnessing of violence, or a car crash, disaster or terrorism, and something else. Whatever the reason is, this will impact to children's lifetime. So seeking for help from professionals is necessary to help children, or someone you love, getting out of this. How common is it? Surprisingly, childhood trauma is very common to happen these days. According to many children are abused and neglected in the United States, with over 680,000 children being abused in 2015, 25% of high school students were in at least one physical fight. Bullying is common for high school students, where 1 in 5 students had been bullied at school and 1 in 6 experienced cyberbullying. 17% of children 12 to 17 years old reported being physically abused. Over 50% of families have been impacted by some type of disaster. What is most affected by childhood trauma is their relationship with other people, whether it's a romantic relationships or friendships. They find it difficult to trust others and even have difficulty controlling their emotions. Here are some signs that are usually found in people with childhood trauma. 1. Poor emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the way you react to situations. People with childhood trauma have poor emotional regulation, and it's devastating to any relationship. You are emotionally dysregulated when you are struggling with moods, extreme tearfulness, angry outbursts, or throwing tantrums. This will exhaust and degrades a relationship, whether with friend or spouse. Because not everyone can tolerate your reaction to any situation. It may lead to walking on eggshells feeling, where your partner fears your meltdowns. 2. Trust issues. If someone witness or experience abuse either physically or verbally, or maybe both of them, they will struggling with trust issues in the future. So if today you are difficult to trust other people, even when they have proven that they love you so much, you may experience childhood trauma. You don't allow yourself to not easily trust somebody. Also, you fear being vulnerable, or you don't allow yourself to rely on someone else. Even when you really need help or when you need support, you choose not to ask for help. Furthermore, trust issues can lead to a negative effect on relationships. When you don't fully trust anyone, especially your partner, it's easy to throw in the towel when things get hard. Then, your partner will feel that you do not trust them, interpret that you're not attempting in this relationship. Your partner may sense that you have other better things to do rather than having a relationship with him or her. That's why people with childhood trauma also usually have relationship issue. 3. Difficulty being emotionally vulnerable. On other occasions, people with childhood trauma don't want to look weak or emotionally vulnerable in front of other people, including in front of their own partners. You prefer to keep everything alone and don't allow yourself to rely on partner emotionally. You are also unable to express what you need and what you are feeling. It will slowly erode your relationship. People with childhood trauma also will avoid sharing emotion with their partner. They attempt to not burden other people with their feeling. As the result, their partner might think that they are the reason of moodiness and sadness. Whereas the sadness and problems sometimes is unrelated to the partner. 4. Depression or anxiety. Researchers also found that mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety are linked to childhood trauma. These conditions make your relationship stuck and difficult to grow. Also, if you are struggling with panic attack, eating disorders, compulsions. As the result, you can't fully present in a loving and nurturing relationship when you are in these mental health issues. So what you can do about your childhood trauma? Is there any way that can be done to minimize the impact on the relationship? Everyone is different, so better to seek help from professionals and do couples of counseling or therapy. Also, here are some other things that you and your partner can do if one of you experiencing childhood trauma. Awareness. To help yourself, you need to have self-awareness. You need to be aware of your mental health issues as possibles. Sometimes, do a self-reflection and dig into yourself. Why you react a certain way to some triggers. Try to name what you are feeling and what you are going. It will be a huge step towards being understood. Because other people can't understand what is going on in your head or why you act the way you do, but it's your own responsibility to know yourself better than others. Express yourself to make everything better. Relationship maintenance. For people with childhood trauma, a healthy relationship or work. You need to put time and more energy to work on it, especially if you really care your partner. Make a commitment to put in the work so you can make progress. Discover what makes your partner happy and feel loved. Is it spending quality time together watching movies? Or is it going outdoors such as hiking? Find out what you can do to make your partner feel loved and spend time to do those things. Self-care. To have better quality of life and relationship, it's not only about your partner, but also about yourself. You need to work on caring for yourself as well. Identify what you lacked as a child and try to give that for yourself. If you grew up without delicious foods you love, buy many foods you couldn't enjoy in the past. Or, if you always used ripped clothes, get yourself a nice clothes that make you happy and more confident. Childhood trauma should not be abandoned, especially if this has disrupted your life and your relationship with your partner. If the effect is felt to be too bad, carrying out therapy or counseling is a concrete step that should be taken to get out of childhood trauma.